Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Mysticall. Today, I am bringing you a video going over how to play the Crackle build from Mistweavers in patch 11.1. There were a few changes to it that I want to go over, and I want to give you everything that you need to know to play it in 2s, 3s, shuffle, RBGs, BG Blitz, every single way to play it. And with that said, let's jump right into the video. I do want to talk about the downsides to this build very quickly because there's a reason why people preferred rushing wind kick last season over Crackle, because Crackle was actually decent last season too. The damage wasn't quite as good as rushing wind kick, but the biggest thing about Crackle that's different from rushing wind kick is that you could counter it and you could stop it. So that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest issue. So you're obviously most of your healing. I'm trying to see if I have any healing breakdowns. I don't. Most of your healing, I would say a good 30, I think I've had a breakdown with 40% of my healing, what comes from your ancient teachings, which comes from your Crackle. So crackling does about 40% of your healing in some situations. Now, the issue with that, one, is that obviously that's great, right? 40% of your healing comes from Crackle. The issue is that 40% of your healing comes from Crackle. And you can get CC'd on it, and if you're not playing Zen Focus T, you can get kicked on it too. All right, so keep that in mind. When you Thunder Focus T and you go for a Crackle, now at higher rating, teams were really, really annoyingly good at stopping it. So if you're not playing Zen Focus T, expect to just get interrupted instantly on it. All right. Now it's a good way to bait kicks, right? Because if you Crackle, get a ticket, and you heal your team, maybe you can bait a precog, and that's really good. But that's why most of the time I'm playing Zen Focus T with Crackle and Lightning, because teams will try to CC you on it instantly, right? So if I'm going for a Thunder Focus T Crackle, boom, I'm going to get cheap shotted by a Rogue. If I'm not playing Zen Focus T, I'm going to get corroded by a NASA Rogue. I'm going to get polyed or feared or stunned by a Warrior Stormbolt. So just keep that in mind. It is counterable. And then also, there's spells that you need to worry about. So for example, Warriors can spell reflect it. So if you Crackle into a Warrior with spell reflect, it's done. Like, that healing is done. If you're playing into a shaman that has grounding down, your Crackle is going to get grounded and you're not going to do any healing with it. If you're playing to a warlock with Nether Ward, which is their reflect on magic spells, that's going to reflect your Crackle back to you and it's not going to work. So keep that in mind. Crackle does so much healing and it's so good. I really think it's so good. The damage is decent even after the nerf. The healing is amazing. But just keep that in mind that there are counters to it. I'm going to start with the races just because I get asked this a lot. And I'm going to start with Alliance first. So Alliance has quite a few options. It really mostly depends on the meta for Alliance because there's so many different races with so many different ratios that are good in different situations. So I'm going to give you the top situations where you could swap between them. So first of all, overall, Night Elf is probably the best Alliance race. This has Shadow Meld. It gives you a lot of options. Shadow Meld allows you to drop combat so you can drink instantly. You know, you can mount up if you're in BG Blitz, or even if you're in Arena, you can Shadow Meld, mount up, and run away. But most of the time, you're going to be using Shadow Meld to drink if you're running out of mana, or to avoid CC. So you could Shadow Meld, avoid CC like a polycast on you. So that's really, really good. So Shadow Meld overall is probably the best race with Night Elf. Outside of that, you actually do have a few options. If Balance Druids are just insanely overpowered, you could play Gnome. So you get Escape Artist on a 1-minute cooldown, which gets rid of any roots or snares on you. This will completely negate Root Beam goes on you, which is amazing. So if Boomies are just incredibly strong and they're not getting changed anytime soon, Gnome is a really good option. You could also play Dwarf or Dark Iron Dwarf if Feral or, Affliction Warlock is really good. Also really good versus DKs for their Strangulate Silence. So this is a good option. You get, I think, Fireblood and Stoneform, I believe, are the two races from these two. And that just dispels all the curses, bleeds on you. It's really, really, really good, actually. So these are really good. Again, DKs, Ferals, Affy Warlocks, stuff like that with a bunch of bleeds. Assassination Rogue gets rid of Deathmark, which is amazing. Gets rid of Feral Frenzy from Feral Druids, which is really good. I've wanted to play Draenei for a little bit, but I don't think it's good enough. They did buff the cooldown. It's now a 2-minute cooldown on their racial. I think it's lighter than Naru. It's decent. It's like, what, 25% of your health, so it could be good with 4 brew, but I don't think it's good enough for like a main race. You could play as like an alt, but those are the main races that you're going to play in Alliance. You got Night Elf, probably number 1, Gnome if Boomy's good, and then Dwarf, Dark Iron Dwarf if you just want to dispel bleeds or poisons or curses on you. Horde side, you don't have any options. You're Undead. That's pretty much it. I would actually argue that Undead is the best race for Mistweaver overall. So if you're looking for the absolute best race for Arena or Solo Shuffle, I would definitely say that Undead is probably the best race. Will the Forsaken is a really, really good ability to have. It allows you to get out of fears, charms, and sleeps effects. So really good versus Evokers. Because imagine a situation where an Evoker gets an oppressing roar on you into a sleepwalk. So it's an 8-second sleepwalk. Instead of having to trade your trinket, you could just use your Undead racial, right? So that's, and then you could save your trinket for the next CC chain on you, which is really, really good. Obviously really good versus warriors with intimidating shout, really good versus warlocks because they have fear as well, mind controls, so stuff like that. I just think overall, I honestly would say the Undead is better than Night Elf. I really would, unless Mistweaver has like super bad mana issues this patch, because we did get a mana T nerf. I don't think we will. I think Undead will be the best race to play. So that's pretty much my opinion. As far as other Horde races, there really aren't any worth talking about. You could go Orc for hardiness, but again, that's been nerfed for a little bit now. And I've tried all these other races. They're just not nearly good enough. So I think if you want the overall best race, definitely Undead. All right, let's talk about gear / stats for a little bit here. So the stats you want to go are versatility, mastery, haste, crit are the primary stats you want. Mastery is really, really good for Mistweaver. Even though it just got nerfed and Resplendent Mist, which is another mastery talent, got nerfed, it's still really good. So what Mistweaver Mastery is, essentially, I just want to explain it just so you understand why it's so good. Pretty much what it is you get a second heal every time you use one of your main heals right here. So whenever you use Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist, Rising Sun Kick, Expel Harm, Restore, Shayloon's Gift, and Vivify, you get a second heal that instantly heals the target, and you have a 30% chance to do 120% more healing with it from the Resplendent Mist talent here. So again, it's not something you have to think about, which is really, really good, but just keep that in mind. You have your strong heals, and then on top of that, you also get mastery healing on as well. So it's really, really good. I highly recommend stacking mastery. But with that said, you do want a little bit of haste. All right, don't go full mastery, or don't go 100% mastery and then forget that you actually need some haste with it. So I would say anywhere between, like, I don't even know. I would say 15% haste is normally good enough, pretty much. So I would recommend going probably 15% haste and then the rest into versatility and mastery. As far as tier sets go, so this is our tier set. Our 2 set is your healing spells have a chance to apply insurance to your target that heals them for 329k over 15 seconds. Insurance is consumed if an ally drops below 40% health to heal them for 175,000, which is not bad. It's not terrible. Our 4 set is Cast Renewing Mist applies insurance for 6 seconds. The healing of insurance is increased by up to 50% in proportion to the coverage Renewing Mist has on its allies. So pretty much just renewing Mist healing buff, which is great. That buffs insurance, which is fine too. So it's just an extra hot, which is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. These are nerfed by 50% in PvP though, so keep that in mind. So the healing, you can see the healing got hella nerfed. So by the way, we're gonna have like 14 million health pools, and this is gonna heal for 127k. So not ideal. And then as far as do we want tier set, honestly, the stats on the gear are so bad. I honestly consider not even going 2 set. The 2 set is probably decent, so I would probably go like, let me see, I'd probably go the gloves for the haste verse and the helm for haste mastery, because that is a ton of mastery. Oh my god. That is an insane amount of mastery. I love the helm. So yeah, I would probably go helm and gloves. If you want verse, you could probably go legs. But you know me. I'm gonna drop a little verse for some extra mastery stats. So you know what I mean. So I'm gonna definitely go helm, gloves. I really, really don't even think the 2 set is even that worth it. I'll definitely keep a pinned comment updating everyone on what I'm playing, but gonna be honest, the stats on the gear are terrible. Crit verse, haste verse is good. Crit haste, like. Those are like our 2 least favorite stats, which is a little unfortunate. But yeah, 2 set might be worth it with the insurance, but outside of that, I don't think the 4 set's worth it. Now I'm going to do the monk talent overview. I'm not going to go through every single talent. I'm just going to go through and highlight some things that are important. I feel like for Mistweavers that might be new or experienced. So obviously you get Soothing Mist. This is what makes your healing spells instant, by the way. So Soothing Mist makes Enveloping Mist instant. If you don't use Soothing Mist with Enveloping Mist has a cast time. So that's your main way to heal, essentially, with Soothing Mist. You have your Vivacious Vivification. So this makes it so your Vivify is instant, and it heals for an additional 20% every 10 seconds. One thing I want to note is the 10 seconds is on like the server time. It's not when you press it. So, for example, this weak aura right here tracks it. If I press Vivacious now, Instant Vivify, I have another one right now because it's based off of server time, not when you actually use the buff. So that's really good. You have your port. So this allows you to put your port down and allows you to port wherever, pretty much, which is really nice. Really helpful for getting away from melee or avoiding CC. Leg sweep or toggle tail sweep. So this increases the range of leg sweep. And I'll also go over some flex points as well. Fort Brew here is one of your primary defensives. Fort Brew and Diffuse Magic. These are your primary damage reduction cooldowns, which is really good. You have Save Them All. So when you heal somebody below 35% health, you gain 10% healing for the next 4 seconds, which is great. You have Chi Proficiency. So this increases your magic damage done and then healing done increased, but both by 4%. So this obviously affects Crackle, which is really nice. And then here I'm going to talk about some flex talents here. So I play a slightly different build than what other people play just because I like it, not because it's better. So first of all, a lot of people don't play Lighter Than Air because it increases the cooldown of your roll or Chi Torpedo, which is fair. So a lot of people put that into Flow of Chi. So what Flow of Chi does is you get a bonus effect based on your health percentage. So when you're above 90% health, your movement speed is increased, which is really good. When you're between 90 and 35% health, damage taken is reduced by 5%, which is a little mini wall, which is nice. And then when you're below 35%, your healing received is increased by 10%. I want to note that this does stack with Save Them All. So if you heal yourself below 35% health, you get a Save Them All buff, and then you also get the Flow of Chi buff, which is really, really good. On top of that, people don't play Clash. It's like not played a lot, which is completely fine. Like it's completely fine. I like playing Clash. I love my 1 minute cooldown kick, and I like being able to Clash to get Touch of Death. Those are my main things. People don't, and that's okay. So for these talents, you could put one here into Elusive Mist, which when you're channeling Soothing Mist on somebody, it reduces damage they take by 6%, which is great. You could also put it into Strength of Spirit, which increases Expel Harm's healing based on how much health is missing. This is really good, especially when teams are hitting you. And then this last point, there's really 3 spots where you could put it. So the first one is in Celestial Determination. When your Celestial is active, so in this case, when Yulon is active, you cannot be slowed below 90% of movement speed. This is good. It's not terrible. I mostly play this in BG Blitz, not so much Arena, just because maps are kind of small. If teams want to get to you, they can. So it's okay. It's not terrible. The second one is Dance of the Wind. So this was nerfed. Not nerfed. I'm not going to say it was nerfed. It was changed in 11.1, but it is nerfed in PvP. So right now, your physical damage taken is reduced by 10%, so baseline, and then an additional 10% every 4 seconds until you receive a physical attack. This is nerfed in PvP by 50%. So your physical damage taken is reduced by 5%. So that's all the time, which is great. And then you get stacks for 5% every 4 seconds, which is fine, but all people have to do is whack you once and get that buff away. So I don't think Dance of the Wind is worth it. And then the third spot is Peace and Prosperity, which reduces the cooldown of ROP by 5 seconds, or Song of Chi-Chi's cast time by 0.5 seconds, which is really good in my opinion. So if it was up to me, I would put it here. I like the cooldown, the cooldown reduction on Song of Chi-Chi, which is, or Song of Ring of Peace, which is really good. But you can also put it here if you want to be a little bit more defensive. That's fine. A passive defensive isn't terrible. But I will have this export in the description as well, just because I play certain things that other people don't, and that's completely fine. Next up is the Mistweaver tree, and I've done quite a bit of testing on PTR and live since the patch has gone. So this is the build that I like. Again, I'm going to go over some flex talents. I'm going to go over what I've changed, and really, it might be a little different than what other people play, but this is what I thoroughly enjoy this build. So first off, starting off with getting the best hot in the game, Enveloping Mist. So Enveloping Mist, what it does is it's a hot, and then any healing the person receives with Enveloping Mist on them is increased by 40%. So if I put Enveloping Mist on somebody, every other heal by me is increased by 40%. My Renewing Mist, my Vivifies. So keep that in mind. It's really, really important hot. You have your Thunder Focus Tea. I'll have a section talking about Thunder Focus Tea and just how insane it is. Life Cocoon is your main cooldown. This is pretty much what you're going to be using when somebody drops low on health. Mana Tea. So you get stacks of Mana Tea for mana you spent, and then you get mana back. And then for every stack that you consume, you get a 1 second buff that reduces the mana cost on your spells, which is great, by 30%, which is fantastic. Invigorating Mist is just, this is really important, by the way. So what Invigorating Mist is Vivify will heal any allies with Renewing Mist on them. So this is crucial, and I'll talk about this in the healing section. This is crucial for spread healing. So this has Renewing Mist, this has Renewing Mist, and if I Vivify, it heals both of them. So really, really important. Basically, what it comes down to is just keep Renewing Mist up on as many people as possible at all times. Healing Elixirs is just a passive heal when you drop to a certain amount of health. Common Coalescence, increase the absorption of your life cocoon, which is great. I'm going to see if there's any other main. So this is Yulon right here. Yulon's really important. So this, you summon Yulon, and Envelop Mix costs 50% less mana when Yulon's up. So that's really important for not running out of mana. Very, very important. And then you have a few talents that buff it. So you have Celestial Harmony, where while Yulon is active, you put a hot on them. You put a hot on somebody after you use Enveloping Mist, and they will get 10% more healing. And then you also put Chi Cocoons on people, which is just like a mini absorption shield, which is really, really good. Jade Bond and Celestial, Gift of Celestials. I tested both. I like Jade Bond, and I think this will be used in BG Blitz quite often because of how strong the shields are. But in PvP or in Arena specifically, I think you need the 1 minute cooldown. So I'm going to run with Gift of the Celestials starting at this season, just because the 1 minute cooldown is you're able to rotate with Life Cocoon and a little bit of peace, Revival, even though Revival is a longer cooldown. And then this is like the biggest part of the section here. So what makes Crackle build good is Jade Empowerment with Jade Fire Teachings with Sheilun's Gift. Those are the three main buttons this build offers. So I'm going to start off with Jade Empowerment. So what Jade Empowerment does is whenever you use Thunder Focus Tea, it increases the damage of your next Crackling Jade Lightning by 1,250% in PvP and causes it to chain to 4 additional enemies. It's nerfed to 2% or 2 additional enemies in PvP. So essentially, every time you press Thunder Focus Tea, you're going to get a buff right here. I have a weak aura for it. I also have a buff right here. And what that does is it just makes Crackling Jade Lightning damage crazy, right? It's still bugged in PvP. It's supposed to chain to 2 additional people. It only chains to 1, so it's kind of annoying. But the primary thing is that it's a single target damage now, so it's not too important. But every Thunder Focus Tea, you have a big Crackling Jade Lightning. And why that's important is because you want to pair it with Jade Fire Teachings. And what Jade Fire Teachings does is, after casting Jade Fire Stomp, which you don't play, or a Thunder Focus Tea, Ancient Teachings transfers an additional 160% damage to healing for 15 seconds. What that means is Mistweavers have a passive called Ancient Teachings, where your Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick, Rising Sun Kick, and Crackling Jade Lightning heal up to 5 allies for 30% of the damage done, split evenly among them. So this converts your damage essentially into healing for 30% of the damage done. And what this talent does is it buffs it by an additional 160%. So you now have, with Jade Fire Teachings, 190% of the damage you do gets converted into healing. And that's the build. Your every Thunder Focus Tea, you get a big Crackle. You're going to get the Jade Fire Teachings buff, which converts 190% of the damage you do into healing, and you just crank. So you can see I have my Jade Fire Teachings buff after I press Thunder Focus Tea. I have my Jade Empowerment buff to make Crackling Jade Lightning do more damage, and then I Crackle. I do a ton more healing, or I do a ton more damage, which does even more healing. And don't forget that this works with your modifiers, your Envelopment Mist 40% extra healing, which again, I'll talk about in the healing rotation. So that's the biggest thing about this build. And finally, the newest addition, this patch. Now, let me tell you something. They moved Sheilun's Gift up from the bottom tier to above. So what I did is I took 1 point out of Overflowing Mist into Sheilun's Gift. It is not terrible. I don't think it's that terrible. Overflowing Mist is not bad at all, but we need the extra point somewhere. Veil of Pride versus Xiaohao's Lesson. So I'm torn between these two talents. I would love to know what people think. 40 seconds. Basically, you get 1 cloud or 1 stack of Sheilun's Gift every 8 seconds baseline. What Veil of Pride does is it makes it so you get 1 cloud for Sheilun's Gift every 4 seconds. So every 40 seconds, essentially, you get a 10 stack of Sheilun's Gift, which is what it's all about. I've healed for 6 million on Sheilun's Gift. I think it's crazy. So Xiaohao's Lessons, it gives you a buff every time you use Sheilun's Gift, and some of them are good. Like the damage reduction is actually insane with haste, as well as like 25% of the damage or healing you deal is duplicated over 4 seconds, which I think is great. But I don't know. Every 40 seconds, just having a giant heal, I think is so good. And then the insane talent they added this patch, Emperor's Favor, which I mean, I hate that it takes 3 talents to make Sheilun's Gift insane, but what this does is Shaylin's Gift healing is increased by 150%, and its cast time is reduced by 100%, but it now only heals one single ally. So if you played Legacy of Wisdom, Shaylin's Gift would have a, I think it would be, what is it, like a 1.3 second cast time, something like that. And then it would heal 2 additional allies, which is really good. So I think it's like 4 or 5 total, which is really good. But we don't want that. We want the instant single. That cast time's too long in PvP. Emperor's Favor makes it instant is amazing. So let me just show you real quick. So I have a 10 stack of Shaylin's Gift. Again, with Veil of Pride, it would this only happens every 40 seconds, which is fantastic. So let me show you. I'm gonna just Shaylin's Gift. Boom. So 2.3 million Shaylin's Gift just instantly. Just an instant Shaylin's Gift, 2.3 million, which is just amazing. I mean, yes, this is affected by dampening, but it's an instant heal, which is great. So I did say I was going to talk about some different talents that you could do, some flex talents. So first of all, you don't need to play Shaylin's Gift. That's it's completely fine. I think Shaylin's Gift is really good when the meta is fast, when you need the instant healing. But there's going to be matchups, and the meta might slow down where you don't need that extra instant healing, which is fine. So what you could do is you could drop Shaylin's Gift talents like we did last patch, right? Put 1 point into Overflowing Mist, and then we just play the same exact build that we played. It's quite literally copy paste of last season. This is the same build I played last season. Okay, it's completely fine. I just want you to keep that in mind. Again, even though I'm playing Shaylin's Gift now, things might change over the course of a season. That could make it worse. It could make it better. But I'm just saying that play what you want. I really like Shaylin's Gift right now. I'm hoping they don't touch the healing. I think the healing is really good. It is affected by dampening, so the later in Shuffle and Arena goes on, the weaker it's going to get, which that's why the argument for Shadow House Lessons is there, because you get really powerful buffs, and if you get one later in dampening, it actually could be good. But for right now, playing Veil of Pride with Emperor's Favor to make Shaylin's Gift instant. You're playing Crackle with your Jade Fire Teachings to make your Crackle and Jade Lightnings heal for a lot. And outside of that, you're just trying to heal as much as you can from 40 yards away. Next up is PvP talents, and these really don't change. Mistweavers have a lot of good PvP talents. The first one, I think that is baseline, is Peaceweaver. It's gotten nerfed a lot. Too many times. But Peaceweaver still go-to talent. You can do too many things with it. What it does is Restore's cooldown is reduced by 16%, which is nothing. But the biggest thing is that it provides immunity to magical damage and harmful effects for 2 seconds. So you could use this while stunned, right? If you play Restore, you can play Peaceweaver. You could use it while stunned. So you can immune CC. If you get stunned, you can use Peaceweaver or Revival to immune like traps, polymorph, cyclones, spheres, repentance, anything like that, which is really, really important. It also helps your teammates, right? One really cool thing that you could do with this, and I've done it quite a few times, if you want to play super aggressive and you're playing against like a Holy Paladin and they try to do the glaze where your teammates all their abilities miss, you could actually just revival it because it's a magic debuff. So that's pretty good. The next talent is Eminence. So you can port while stunned with Eminence. Really, really good. And it reduces the cooldown by 15 seconds if you're not stunned. Really important. What you need to know between Eminence and Escape from Reality. So Escape from Reality allows you to port twice. Eminence, so if your second port is while you're stunned, your port isn't going to get the cooldown reduction. What you need to do essentially is you could port and then port a second time when you're out of a stun, and that way you get the cooldown reduction on your port. Just keep that in mind. That's pretty much the important thing. Use your second port when you're outside of a stun. The third talent, again, these can change depending on what you can do. I'll give you some examples probably just to help you out, but a lot of these can be interchanged. Zen Spheres is really good. So what this does is this Sphere of Hope you can put on an ally. It'll heal them. It has an initial heal and then increases your healing done to them by 15%, which is amazing. And then Sphere of Despair, you can put one on an enemy where the target does 3% less damage and they take 10% more damage from all sources. This is a really good PvP talent. Like this is really, really good. It has a 6-second cooldown, which I kind of hate, but that's okay. So you can put Sphere of Despair on an enemy and you could see damage taken increase by 10% and dealing 3% less damage. And you can put a Sphere of Hope on yourself or a teammate. So this is really good if you need the additional healing. 15% extra healing is amazing. So this just gives Mistweaver an extra healing modifier, which is really good to have. Outside of those three, you have Grapple Weapon. So this is just a disarm. That's a 20-yard range. This is really, really good into rogues, warriors. Demon Hunters, not so much because they can backflip and just dispel it. So I don't really take this into Demon Hunters too much, but definitely Rogues, Warriors, Death Knights, really, really good into them. Not so much into Windwalkers because it's such a small window where they won't have like Fist of Fury and they could use their other spells. So I wouldn't take this versus like Windwalkers. Rep Pally is good against too. So this is just a good disarm. Zen Focus T. So Zen Focus T is pretty much, you're going to be taking Zen Focus T every game when you play this build because you're playing Crackle. Unless you're playing against like 2 melee without a range kick, right? So if I'm playing Crackle and I'm playing against like, I don't know, Ret Warrior, right? They don't have any range kicks. So I'm most of the time I'm going to drop Zen Focus T for grapple weapon. But if I'm playing against any teams with a range kick, like double melee, but it's turbo, right? And the enhanced shaman has wind shear, I'm probably going to play Zen Focus T. I probably am. And you could juke it and maybe get precog, but I mean, you could take the risk and try to freak him out, which is good. But most of the time I try to play a little bit safer. And then those are pretty much it for the PvP talents. A niche one is Counteract Magic. Now, I love Counteract Magic. And what this does is when you dispel dots on somebody, whoever you dispelled gets 10% healing buff up to 3 times for each dot that you dispelled. So if you dispel somebody with Moonfire, Sunfire, and Vampiric Touch, they're going to get 3 stacks of Counteract Magic, and they get 30% more healing from you. And then after that, you only need to dispel like 1 debuff to keep it up. Really, really good. Very niche. I play it versus Balanced Druids. I play it versus like, if I'm playing against Balanced Druid, Ellie Shaman, or Ellie Shaman, Shadow Priest, or Boomy Shadow Priest, anything like that, I'll play Counteract Magic for sure. The healing buff is so good. It's so good. You're already dispelling off cooldown. You might as well get a 30% healing buff on your target. So yeah, I love playing Counteract Magic with it. Very niche though. If I like, for example, if I was playing against Ellie Boomy, I'd probably play like Zen Focus T. I'd play this, right? Double caster, definitely with like dots that don't hurt me. Like I wouldn't play this into in Affliction Warlock because I'm not, you know, UA is kind of scary. And the silence takes up half this buff anyway, yeah, half the duration of the buff. So, yeah, but you know, if I was playing against a turbo, I'd probably play Disarm and Zen Focus T. But if you're feeling a little risky, you play Zen Spheres. But the mind game is if they're playing with the Holy Pally, they might be playing Repentance. So you might want to play Eminence just because the Holy Pally might hodge Repentance. But if you trust your team or if you want to gamble a little bit, Zen Spheres is normally a really good choice. And then, you know, if I'm playing against a Warrior Destro, I would definitely play Grapple Weapon, Peaceweaver, and then Zen Focus T. But it also depends what comp you're playing. So if you're playing with casters, right? If most of the time I'm playing with Mage Lock, which is a really good comp, or, you know, Demo Warlock with an Ellie Shaman, 2 casters, the odds of them saving their kicks just for me is pretty low. Most of the time, they're going to want to kick Fears from my Warlock or Hex from my Shaman. So then Zen Focus T, you don't really need it that much, right? So usually if I'm playing with double casters, Zen Focus T is not. I'm normally I'll like lean towards Zen Spheres just because I'm gonna risk it, baby. You know, if there's a kick up, I'm just going for it. You know what I mean? Does it backfire sometimes? Yes, it does backfire sometimes. But most of the time, if I'm playing with 2 casters, I'll probably opt to like drop Zen Focus T, gamble it a little bit. If I'm playing with melee though, if you're playing with 2 melee, you're playing Zen Focus T 100% of the time because you're the only person that they can kick. So just keep that in mind. Zen Focus T, especially with Crackle, very, very important. I would highly recommend it. Peaceweaver and Zen Focus T pretty much every time. And then dropping this last talent, Eminence to avoid CC, Grapple Weapon versus like Warriors, DKs, Rogues, and then Zen Sphere for pretty much anything else. Next up are Hero Talents, and these really didn't change from last patch to this one. Conduit of the Celestials did get some buffs. Celestial Conduit is a 1.5 minute cooldown. It does quite a bit of healing, and it just buffed the damage it does. It does a good amount of damage as well. My issue with it is that the healing is a 20-yard range, so it really just is unfortunate. However, it does do quite a bit of healing. The passives are good. You get the Zhuen proc, which is, you know, damage and healing, and Heart of the Jade Serpent, and then Strength of the Black Ox. This procs after your Zhuen proc, so you get Envelopment Mist, Shield. It's honestly a really good tree. The only issue is that Master of Harmony gives you 2 charges of Thunder Focus T. That's it. And there is so much tied into Thunder Focus T now. I just don't think it's worth it. I really don't. So Master of Harmony, what this does is you store a little bit amount of your damage and healing, and then every time you Thunder Focus T, you like release it. It's I don't really pay too much attention to it. you pretty much just store it up. This is, where's the buff? Where, don't go, right here, Aspect of Harmony. So you're building this up, and then when you Thunder Focus Tea, you get a buff right here, and you get this really cool animation, which is sick, and it's all nice and all, but you're really playing this tree because you have 2 charges of Thunder Focus Tea, right? And you need your Crackle, and you get your Jade Fire Teachings buff after your Thunder Focus Tea, and then Thunder Focus Tea empowers 2 of your heals. So it's just so much built into one spell. Having 2 charges of it's just too good. It really is just too good. All these other talents they're decent. I mean, there's Chi Burst and Chi Wave, you know, damage and healing increased. It's okay. Tiger's Lust gives 20% move. So I play that. A lot of people play this, the Tiger's Vigor, that casting Tiger's Lust reduces the remaining cooldown roll. I don't know. I like Roar from the Heavens, but Tiger's Vigor is probably better. This was nerfed. That's just extra damage. Balanced Stratagem. This could be worth it. If you do so whenever you do physical damage, you get a buff that increases your nature damage, which is your Crackle. So right here, if I'm doing like Tiger Palming, the damage of my next Crackle is increased by 15% essentially, which is pretty cool. That actually is nice. It's gonna be hard to just weave in physical damage, but yeah, essentially Master of Harmony, little buffs to your damage, but the main takeaway from Master of Harmony is you get 2 charges of Thunder Focus Tea, and so much is baked into your Thunder Focus Tea now. It's just not worth playing anything else. I know that I went over a little bit, and I went over the Crackle with the Jade Fire Teachings passive, which I think it's pretty much the bread and butter of this build, but I want to go over some other spells that maybe new Mistweavers or even experienced Mistweavers know about, but maybe aren't using, or, you know, maybe they don't know something, right? Maybe I could teach you something. So I'm going to go over some healing spells that I think are important to know just for your healing rotation. And I want to start off Expel Harm. Really good. I mean, I think people meme on it, but I swear this is like one of the best self-heals in the game. This is just a heal for you. And if you pair it with Thunder Focus Tea, you get a little Chi Cocoon for 760k. It's literally just a heal for you. I love it. Use it when you're getting hit. Really, really good. Soothing Mist, I explained. This makes your healing spells, well, not all of them, but it makes your Enveloping Mist and Vivify instant when you're channeling it. So technically, I mean, you're still casting, but at least it makes it instant. None of these are really too much of healing spells. The healing spells are probably, so we have Enveloping Mist, really good hot. And when you put it on somebody, they take 40% more healing from your other spells. So I get this buff, and then healing received from the monk increased by 40%. Mistweaver is pretty much all about modifiers. What you're trying to do is get your modifiers out on your targets and heal for a lot. And Envelop Mist is one of them. 40% extra healing is great. Thunder Focus Tea, I'll have a section for Thunder Focus Tea, but this basically empowers your spells. After you press it, 2 of your spells, and depending on what you press with it, it does different things, which is fantastic. Envelop Mist. Renewing Mist, so baked a talent here called Chi Harmony. What this does is when you're Renewing Mist a target, in PvP it's 25%. So when you're Renewing Mist a target, healing received from you is increased by 25% for the first 8 seconds. I have a weak aura for this. You could see how the Renewing Mist icon, it's like glitter, like shiny, starry. It's going to change in about 1 or 2 seconds right there. So now it's normal Renewing Mist. They no longer have the 25% healing buff from you. I have a weak aura that puts on the raid frame if you want it. I have all my weak auras in the description as well. But that's another modifier. That's just a flat 25% extra healing. Zen Spheres we talked about. So if you put it on your teammate or yourself, 15% extra healing, which is really good. And then you have your Yulon we talked about. Shin's Gift we talked about. Life Cocoon is your major, cooldown to use. And then you also have Revival / Restoral. You could use this while stunned. Does a lot of healing. Pair this with Peaceweaver during immune CC or magical effects, which is great. Any kind of passives we want to talk. We talked about Mastery, which is good. Jade Fire Teaching we talked about. Nothing really too great. We talked about Mastery as well. Dome of Mist was added last patch, where if your Envelop Mist gets purged, it puts a Dome of Mist on them, which increases the healing that by the monk by 30%. This is another modifier. It doesn't happen too often, though. A lot of people don't really purge Envelop Mist too much, but if it happens, this is good. And then Jade Empowerment for Crackle and Jade Lightning. Those are all of the major spells and passives that Mistweaver have. All right, so let's just talk about the basic healing rotation. I got into it before, but I just want to explain it again. You're essentially trying to put your modifiers on whoever's taking damage. And just keep that in mind. So your modifiers are Zen Sphere, so 15% extra healing. Chi Harmony from Renewing Mist, which is 25% extra healing in PvP. and then Enveloping Mist, which is 40% extra healing, which is just crazy. And then you're trying to follow that up with a big Vivify. Remember, Vivacious Vivification, this increases that Vivify by 20%. So it's so many modifiers. Like it's the most modifiers you could possibly have. So keep that in mind. You're trying to put Renewing Mist up. You have 2 charges of it. You're trying to put it up on as many people as possible at all times. Always trying to keep that Chi Harmony rolling. And then you Crackle somebody. Bare minimum, you're trying to keep Chi Harmony on your teammates and then Crackle. Ideally, you put Envelop Mist out if you have the mana. So that's your basic healing rotation. Renewing Mist, Envelop Mist, Vivify to fill if there's really not much damage going out. The more advanced healing rotation comes from Thunder Focus Tea. So Thunder Focus Tea, this needs its own section. So what this does is this empowers 2 spells. And the reason it empowers 2 spells is because you play Focus Thunder. So instead of 1, it's 2. Which is great. And what it does is Envelop Mist will immediately heal somebody for a certain amount, and then it's instant, right? Remember, Envelop Mist has a cast time unless you use Soothing Mist. But with Thunder Focus Tea Enveloping Mist, you don't need to cast at all, right? So keep that in mind. That's really, really important. Renewing Mist duration increased by 10%. You don't use that much. Maybe at the start of an arena, maybe in BG Blitz, but you don't use that too much. Vivify costs no mana, which is really important for trying to just have mana. Rising Sun Kick cooldown reduced by 9 seconds. With the Crackle build, you don't really need to worry about that too much. You're playing 40 yards away, so you really won't be using Thunder Focus Tea Rising Sun Kick too often. And then finally, Expel Harm transfers 25% additional healing, and it gives you a Chi Cocoon, which is really good. You will use Thunder Focus Tea Thunder Focus Tea Expel Harm for the healing and the Chi Cocoon if you're being targeted. But for the most part, 90% of the time, you're using Thunder Focus Tea on Vivify and Enveloping Mist. That's it. So a lot of the times, what your rotation is really going to look like is you're going to put Renewing Mist on, your teammates, put your Chi Harmonies out. And then what you're going to do is if there's interrupts available, I'll normally go for like a Thunder Focus Tea Enveloping Mist, Renewing Mist, and then into an Instant Vivify. And that's normally enough to really, and then Crackle, right? Because that target's going to have your Renewing Mist, your Enveloping Mist, and then all those modifiers buff your crackling damage healing significantly. Like it's insane amount. You should be able to top anybody. With those modifiers plus Crackle, you should be able to heal through most damage. Now, if there's no kicks available, you have a little flexibility. One thing I do want to point out though is Mana Tea is really important as well. So again, Mana Tea, you consume 1 stack of Mana Tea for 0.2 seconds, and that restores mana. But more importantly, every stack that you consume gives you 1 second where your spells are 30% less mana. So before you use, and by the way, Envelop Mist costs 105k mana, which is just ridiculous. So what you want to do is you always want to make sure you're using your Mana Tea before you use Enveloping Mist. So a lot of the time, you have your statue out, right? And you're going to be Soothing Misting, which is really important. This, by the way, this is another modifier I forgot to talk about, is Peaceful Mending. So Peaceful Mending, allies targeted by Soothing Mist receive 40% more healing from your Envelop Mist and Renewing Mist. It's just crazy. And this works for your statue, by the way. So if you Soothing Mist and your statue keeps channeling, this Soothing Mist right here from your statue contributes towards Peaceful Mending. So that's another modifier that you need to remember. It's pretty like passive just because it'll Soothing Mist whoever you're healing, but just keep that in mind. It's just wild how many modifiers Mistweavers have. So you get your statue down, and let's just say someone's about to start taking a lot of damage. You need to be really, really proactive with your Mana Teas, because if someone's using their burst rotation and then you start healing, you're going to lose out on a lot of mana. So if I see somebody start setting up some CC, I start to get the feeling that there's going to be a kidney shot or a stun or something, I'm going to start channeling my Mana Tea. And then from there, it's going to be just Renewing Mist into, if there's kicks available, Thunder Focus Tea Enveloping Mist into an Instant Vivify, throw an Expel Harm as well, and then that should be good. And then from there, if my teammate's healthy, I'll just try to heal, just channel and heal. And then don't forget, you have a second charge of Thunder Focus Tea. You need it, and then if you need it, you have Thunder Focus Tea with Cracking Chain Lightning. So it really just comes down to using your Renewing Mist, getting the Chi Harmony buff, using your Sphere of Hope for that additional modifier. If you can, get an Envelop Mist out with Mana Tea, which is an additional modifier, and then Vivify to kind of fill. And if you need more healing, you Crackle. And that's pretty much it. I mean, again, don't try to overcomplicate it at all. If you need mana, by the way, you can absolutely use Thunder Focus Tea Vivify. So if there's no kicks available, so if my teammate is like taking some damage, but not the most, or if I don't have Mana Tea available, I'm going to try to not use Envelopment Mist that much. So I'm going to try to just put my modifiers out, and then Thunder Focus Tea Vivifies is what I'm going to try to do. That's pretty much it. It's pretty much that simple. If I have an instant Vivify, I always press it, especially when I have modifiers out, and then boom, Crackling Jade Lightning. Make sure you have the Jade Fire Teachings buff though, or Ancient Teachings buff, just because if you crackle and you don't have Jade Fire Teachings up, it's gonna be the healing isn't gonna be nearly as good. So just keep that in mind. You have like, especially if you're playing Zen Focus Tea too, because you're gonna have a 5-second window where you can't get interrupted, right? With Thunder Focus Tea. So if you spend all your time during Thunder Focus Tea putting your hots up and your modifiers up, and then all of a sudden your Thunder Focus Tea, your Zen Focus Tea is gone, then you get kicked on your Crackle, which it feels really bad when you get kicked on it. The one additional modifier I want to talk about is from Yu'lon, and Yu'lon is a 1-minute cooldown when you're playing the Gift of Celestials talent. And what she does is when you use Envelop Mist on somebody when she's active, it'll put another buff on them that increases the healing you do to them by 10%. And then even more importantly is when Yu'lon is active, all of your spells are reduced by 50% for the mana cost of your spells. So that's really, really, really important for just making sure you don't run out of mana. So if I had to do the rotation again and weave in Yu'lon, I mean, it's pretty simple. If you have stacks of Mana Tea, now it does stack, by the way. If you have Mana Tea, the Mana Tea buff active with Yu'lon, those get added together. So the 30% Mana Tea from the 50% from Yu'lon, that is 80% mana reduction on your spells. So that's really good. What you try, if you can, try to get Envelop Mist out with it. So your healing rotation with Yu'lon is pretty much the same. You get your Zen Sphere out, you get your Renewing Mist out, or Mana Tea, and then you can Mana Tea, Yu'lon, and then Thunder Focus Tea, Enveloping Mist. And my Mana Tea is 36,000 mana, or Enveloping Mist is 36,000 mana, down from 105,000, which is crazy. And then you can also see we get the extra hot here, which is 10% more healing and a little bit of a hot from Yu'lon. And then you can, of course, Crackle. So it doesn't change the rotation too much, but you just need to keep it in mind that it reduces the mana cost of your spells by 50%. That works with Mana Tea, so it reduces the mana cost of your spells by 80% when you have Mana Tea and Yu'lon up. And then just make sure you get an Enveloping Mist out, normally through Thunder Focus Tea Enveloping Mist, because you don't have to cast it. You get that modifier out, and then you should already have like your Sphere of Hope and your Renewing Mist modifiers out, and then just boom, just Crackle. So your full healing rotation is going to look something like this. You're going to put your statue down. You're going to keep Renewing Mist on your teammates. You're going to use Enveloping Mist when you have Mana Tea up, Yu'lon up, or, even if you just have to, that's fine too. And then from there, you're just going to try to just heal with your Vivifies. Try to spot heal with Vivifies and heal with your Crackle. That's pretty much it. So if I was just healing somebody that might be in trouble, statue down, I'd put my Shaylin's Gift, I'd put my Sphere of Hope up, my Renewing Mist up. And then if, let's just say it's the start of the game, I have my cooldowns, I would probably go for a Yu'lon, Thunder Focus Tea, Enveloping Mist immediately into a Crackle, most of the time. And then I'll have my instant Vivify. And, if someone still needs healing after that, or let's just say it's one of those awkward times where, let's just say I use both my Thunder Focus Teas and I use both my Crackles. This is where Shaylin's Gift I found to be the most powerful, by the way. If I have all my modifiers up and I have my instant Vivify and I don't have a Thunder Focus Tea, Shaylin's Gift is able to fill that gap. It's a really good heal. It really is a good heal. That's instant. It helps me just keep my team alive long enough, buy me time for my next Thunder Focus Tea. And then I just, do the same thing over. I can use my Thunder Focus Tea, Enveloping Mist, put my Zen Spheres up, obviously channel, and then Crackle. And you just do that over and over again. Again, I have my instant Vivify here, so I can do my spot healing with Vivify. And from there, it's just healing as much as I can. And it really is just buying time with Thunder Focus Tea. That's pretty much it. Over and over again. You're just using your instant healing. Most of your instant healing with your instant Vivify, but you're going to be channeling a lot of the time. You need to be able to juke and use your modifiers and then just Thunder Focus Tea, Crackle, and just do it over and over again until hopefully you get a kill from 40 yards away. All right, now let's talk about cooldowns. And I think I've talked about most cooldowns throughout this video, but I just want to have one section specifically for it. Mistweavers, although we do have like really strong healing and PvP talents, we kind of lack cooldowns for our teammates, and that's where the primary weakness of Mistweaver comes in. Is we are primarily an output healer. We don't have damage reductions for our teammates. We have none. So that's kind of where our weakness is. The longer the game goes on, the weaker we get, because we have no damage reductions for our teammates and we just heal. So dampening, therefore, is our biggest weakness, which kind of sucks. So as far as teammates cooldowns, we have Life Cocoon, which is just a big absorption shield that will also put a Renewing Mist and Vault Mist on our target because of this talent right here, which is really good. Save you a little bit of mana, but it's mostly the absorption shield that you're looking for. Restoro I've talked about. So this, and paired with Peaceweaver, is a 2.5 minute cooldown. And it does a good bit of healing. It dispels all diseases and poisons. It's usable while stunned. And more importantly, with Peaceweaver, it makes anyone healed by immune to magical effects for 2 seconds, which is really good. I wouldn't say it's a cooldown, but Shayloon's Gift, 40-second cooldown, because you should get 10 stacks with it when you're playing Veil of Pride is pretty good. So I would say Shayloon's Gift, decent cooldown, really good healing, instant, but again, affected by dampening, which kind of sucks. Any other cooldowns? Yu'lon, I spoke about her. Yeah, this is good. It reduces the mana cost of your spells by 50%, and then gives another healing modifier in hot, which is really good. And I think that's pretty much it for cooldowns. You have Diffuse Magic and Fort Brew, which are just for you. Diffuse Magic is really good versus casters. It reduces damage you take by magical stuff by 60%, which is really good. Fort Brew, it reduces the damage you take by 20% and increases your health by 20%, which is really good. That's why I thought Drain Eye Race would be really good, because it's based off of health. But as far as healing cooldowns, that's it. Yeah, it's really hard to rotate. You're pretty much going to be rotating your Yu'lon and Shayloon's Gift as much as you can. Life Cocoon is primarily going to be used for, obviously, single target. And then Revival ideally is used for AoE damage, but there's some comps out there with single target damage as well. I would say one last cooldown, I guess, is Trinket. I know it sounds weird, but Trinket is like your best cooldown. It really is. Mistweaver, very susceptible to CC. You make sure you put your port in the right spots, which I'll talk about. But yeah, Trinket is really important. You cannot Life Cocoon unless you have, you're out of CC or your Trinket. So normally Life Cocoon and Trinket, pair those two together. They're both roughly a 1.5-minute cooldown. Next up are macros, and I love macros. I love them so much. I will try to talk about as much as I can. I really don't do anything fancy. I have a lot of Arena 1, 2, 3 macros. So these are all my macros for Arena 1, 2, 3 paralysis. So Arena 1, 2, 3. I also have the same thing for grapple weapon, for clash, and for kick. And I want you to know that this might not work for some people, and that is fine. Everyone's different when it comes to how they play the game, how they think about the game. A lot of people just use focus macros, and that would help me with all of my button bloat, which would be fantastic. That doesn't work for me. It's not how my brain works. I need to have organized 1, 2, 3. I also have self Tiger's Lust and party 1, 2 Tiger's Lust, which is really important. Don't sleep on Tiger's Lust. Really, really good for helping your melee. It saves you a dispel as well if it's like a Frost Nova. So that's what it works for me. I use a lot of Arena 1, 2, 3 macros. I have an at cursor statue macro right here. So and same with the Ring of Peace. It's just at my cursor. I don't need to click it a second time. Those are the two primary ones. Those are pretty much 90% of the macros I use. Outside of that, Life Cocoon stop casting macro for juking, so you can Soothing Mist, and just stop casting over and over again, which is really good. I'm trying to think of anything else I might be. Crackling Jade Lightning. So this is, I made a video on this just because it's so important. This is like my all-in-one Crackling Jade Lightning targeting macro. And what it does is, if you're targeting somebody that's targeting an enemy, it's going to use Crackle on them. If you're targeting an enemy, it's going to use Crackle on them. And if you're targeting yourself, it's going to use Crackle on the enemy. So you don't need to, essentially don't need to be targeting an enemy to do Crackle. So I'm going to see. So this Demon Hunter is targeting this guy. I should be able to just Crackle. See, I'm not targeting Kelp Fist. I'm not targeting this thing at all. I'm targeting my Demon Hunter, but because he's targeting an enemy, I cast Crackle on them. So really, really important macro. I'll put that in the description as well. These don't really have, these are mouse overs. Taunt macro right here. This is for taunting pets. With the CC changed, I actually haven't been able to taunt too many CC. So it's kind of annoying. Party 1 and 2 dispels is really important. Trying to think of anything else I might be missing. I don't think I'm missing anything. Oh, this is where's my thing? Is this it? No. There should be right here. So this is another really good. This is a Zen Sphere macro where similar to my Crackle J Lightning macro, if I'm targeting an enemy, if I'm targeting a teammate and they're targeting an enemy, I should put a Sphere of Despair on them, and I ping it. So that's a new addition for this macro is I will ping it, because in shuffle and in blitz, I do sometimes play, you know, Zen Spheres and blitz, but mostly in shuffle, it just helps me tell my team like this is who we're targeting and hopefully spam ping. But so I'm targeting this Demon Hunter who's targeting Kelp Fist. I put Zen Sphere out. It uses it on the enemy that I'm targeting and then pings. And then also if I'm targeting an enemy, it'll use Zen Sphere on them. So that's pretty much it. Nothing, you know, that macro is really good for like uptime, because when Zen Sphere first came out, my uptime on it was abysmal. It was like 20% uptime, like buff uptime and debuff uptime. So now I have it like pretty close to 100%. I think most games I have about 90% uptime, just because sometimes it drops when I'm in CC, but that's pretty good. No, that's this macro is a shout out to Harambe, because sometimes his Tyrant gets slowed or rooted. And so I actually have a macro to target Demonic Tyrant that will Tiger's Lust it. Yep, it's very sad. Crackle J Lightning. Oh, and then Life Cocoon, of course. This is like my signature Life Cocoon macro. So this makes it so you won't accidentally Life Cocoon somebody that is like mind controlled or dead, right? So in BG Blitz, has there ever been a time in BG Blitz or RBGs where you're about to Life Cocoon somebody and then they die and then you Life Cocoon yourself? This will never happen. Or if someone mind controls your target and then you Life Cocoon and then you Life Cocoon yourself. Nope. This will prevent all of that. So as long as somebody that's your teammate is not dead, exists, and is a teammate, you will press Life Cocoon. You see how I press Life Cocoon right there? I'm not targeting anybody. I'm spamming my Life Cocoon macro. And I'm not using Life Cocoon on myself. That's going to prevent that. But as soon as I target an ally, boom, Life Cocoon. So really, really important macro, of course. These are all in the description as well. Take my macros. They're all yours. But that's pretty much what I use for macros. You're pretty much trying to heal whatever's meta. It's not really you. Mistweaver is not the best healer, right? It's not. It probably never will be. So you kind of need to play with people or comps where they need to stay alive while you're in CC and that they're just really tanky. So normally this season 2 of The War Within, Turbo, really good. Especially with, Crackle's really good. You're probably going to be playing Russian Wind Kick. But as far as Crackle goes, really anything like Double Caster is really good. So Ellie Demo, Mage Lock is really good. Thunder, so Ellie, Shaman, Warrior is I'm a big fan of that. Feral Lock, Feral Ellie. I'm a big fan of like melee casters. Demon Hunter Boomy, so that's really good. As far as double melee goes, you're just gonna go with Ret Warrior or Turbo. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's probably your only option. I can't think of. Maybe I'm missing. Maybe like Rogue Lock is also good. But I'm trying to think of a double melee comp that could be good besides Turbo and Ret Warrior. But I can't think of. It would probably be something with a Rogue, but I can't think of anything that would be insane with him as a double melee. No, I think you're just reliant with. Oh, maybe no. No, I think Ret Warrior and Turbo are going to be the main comps if you're going to play double melee for Mistweaver. Tips and tricks. So I have a whole video going over tips and tricks. I'll link that in the description. That is about a 45-minute long video going over everything I have learned about Mistweaver from The War Within and anything in the past where I have used it in my arsenal. Any kind of knowledge from Mistweaver that I have learned over the years, I put in that video. I threw as many clips as I could in there too. So if you want to watch that, I'll put it in the description. I'll put it in one of the corners here as well. Really good video. No bias, but I think it's a pretty good video. So I'd recommend that as well for any tips or tricks that you want to know about Mistweaver. And that is it for me as far as the Mistweaver guide goes. I'm going to leave you with a 6-0 solo shuffle. I uploaded this game a few days ago, but this is pretty much what you're going to be expecting throughout the season. Just trying to crackle from 40 yards away. Try to spot heal between those awkward situations where maybe you want to crackle, but it could be too much healing. So just go for like a Shaylun's gift to fill the gap. But that is it for me. Hopefully this was helpful for anyone who is new to Mistweaver, experienced with Mistweaver, who wants to learn more about Crackle J Lightning build. I vastly prefer this over the Russian Wind Kick build just because I like healing from range. But that is it for me. Hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the day. Hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you later. Grip me. Port it. Reset the port. Meld. Ooh. Crackle here. Okay, we're just going to Crackle here for fun. Oh my god. We're actually healing through a lot. Okay, or not. Disarm Warrior. Incap this. Hunter. Revival here. I sweep this. A lot of healing. Crackle. Yeah, kill. Kill him. Get him out of here. My shaman didn't press wall that whole go. Very brave of him. All right, wait. I have a 10 stacker. Hold up. Boop. I don't know. I feel like in normal 3. Oh, uh-oh. They found the weakness. It's me. Incap this. This Pally's so out of position right now. I'm gonna sweep his ass. All right, so what's the counter here? Like, meld here, revival? It's pillar, so I'm just gonna disarm it. Can I port away? Maybe I don't want to share it with you. No, I will. Don't die. How is he out of my range for that revival? What? Yeah, that's right. Outplayed. I can show you. But if I'm targeting myself, it'll target an enemy. If I'm targeting a teammate, it'll target their enemy. And if I'm targeting an enemy, it'll just crack on them. So I have all, it's all covered. I got all bases covered, Basically, I'm going to cast crack on somebody. Sweep this, of course. Kill this hunter. Get him out of here. Outplay him. I could have revivaled this trap, but it's goblin. You know what? Oh god, this is not good. Revival here. I gotta fort per out. Yeah. Okay, the shaman's actually burrowing. That's a really good burrow. We gotta get away from Arthas. Sweep this guy. Can I disarm his IBF? I can. Can I Crackle here? Sure can. Hunter's too far to kick it. Goblin is pretty bad. Yeah, Goblin's pretty bad. You want to be undead. If you can't be undead, or if you just refuse to be undead, you could play Goblin if you want. But it's pretty not ideal. I actually do want to race change my. I'm gonna Shadow Melt here. Shaylin's Gift. Oh, that was small. I actually do want to race change my my main off of Night Elf. So I might go undead. I'm not sure. That was Lay. I have disarm for the DK. Oh. Shaylin? Oh, we're dead. Sweep this. Elon? Shaman went back in for the kill. It's okay. Crackle here? No, he scattered me on it. See, that's the downside to Crackle. Is you could stop it, which really sucks. I get precog. Please don't die. Oh my god, I just faked this hunter so hard. Please. No, rapid fire is too strong. How do you get another one? Incap this. The juke. There's any coming back from playing it. Like you're done. Meld that. In what world? Revival here. Okay. Bro, what? Okay. Can I disarm this? Manatee here. Can I just sweep these guys? Kill the warrior. Yeah, get him out of here. I have another Crackle. Crackling. A lot of Crackle. I love Crackle. It was, what's crazy is Crackle was good last season too, and I played it a majority of the time. Oh, meld port. Incap that aim shot. I'm gonna get kicked. Don't die. Port back. Oh, bro, Mistweaver's too clean, man. I freaking love it. We're still dead probably. Disarm this. Hunter can't kick my Crackle, so the Hunter's disarmed. And so you can't kick when they're disarmed. So that's why I disarmed him. Because he was the only one. Oh, huge go. We actually win here. I'd be shocked if we didn't. I'm gonna get silenced. Oh, I have a Shayloon's gift. Incap this guy. I have a Shayloon. Shayloon. Love you. Love you, Shayloon. Can we kill this guy? 6-0? Hey. Some would say Mistweaver is insane. I don't know.